Hello, everyone. My name is Renee, and welcome to the Nest. Today, the conversation focuses on the journey of wellness. What is that all about? How does one come to know that they're on a journey? What is a journey? As a wellness coach, I have the honor and the privilege of walking alongside brave people who decide to take life by the horns and say, there's something in my life that I need to pay attention to. So, where do I go from here? And so today I have the privilege of speaking to one of those warrior goddesses. She's an entrepreneur and she is a wonderful woman who is on a journey and has allowed me to walk alongside of her as a coach. I'd like to introduce you to Sheryl Patterson. Hey, girl.
Hi, how are you?
I am well. I am well. And thank you so much, as I just stated, for being brave. And I don't know if it's brave. I call it brave, but because I think that anytime a person shares any intimacies of themselves with anyone else, that they're at the point where they know that they are either being helpful to someone else or have come to the point where it is just easy to be themselves. When you think of the word journey, how do you define it and how do you associate that definition with your journey?
I define journey um, as a path to wholeness. That's my own personal definition.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Taking steps, walking, moving forward. Those are all journey words for me. I apply it to my personal journey um, as outlining specific goals for my life.
Okay.
And this is how my journey started with you. I've always been entrepreneurial minded person, a business minded person, but I never set goals for my internal self. Um, and once I started seeing those goals and um, setting those goals and walking those goals out, and seeing the fruit of the labor that I put in to make it to the place of freedom and wholeness and balance, um, I think that word journey brought more definition to me.
I don't think it's an event. I think
Mm-hmm.
it's ongoing with different segments as things are revealed, we
Exactly.
learn different things about ourselves. Well, you sound very evolved. Now let me just say that when we met, this is not the person that I met. Not bad, not good, not right or wrong. Still self-assured, don't get me wrong. Cute, doing your thing, managing and loving life to a point. Tell me how we got together.
So back in September of 2019, I had a stroke. And at that time, I think I started to reevaluate my life. I've always looked good on the physical, on the external, but there was lack of freedom on the inside to me. I looked at balance as being everything to everyone. But now balance has a different definition to me. It's more about learning to be there for myself. So we met right after I had a stroke. It was on my birthday, October 22nd. And um, I just felt a deficit in my internal, and I needed to do something about that.
And so tell me about our first meeting because I remember certain things about that first meeting because I was like ta da 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 da.
I thought about this over and over and over again this week, and I thought about the multiple tears that I cried when I was there that day. And one of the realizations that I learned early on in our first discussion was that I was addicted to pain, and
Mm.
there was a detox that needed to happen in my life. Um, that's how I felt when I got there. I felt kind of hopeless, although I've been always have been a very optimistic person. That particular day, I felt very hopeless. I felt I was too young for this to happen to me. I felt like there have been so many things that have happened in my life. And when I left there, I felt like Maya Angelou a little bit when she said, I wouldn't give nothing for my
That's
journey
right.
now.
Because it was your birthday.
Yes, it was my birthday.
I had
And
the balloons and we had a little apple cider. And you walked in. I'm like, hey. You're like, hello. Yeah. Well, I'm Renee. Because we've
I was,
spoken on the phone and all of that, but there was a sense of
there was a lot of battles going on because number one, as I mentioned, I had just had a stroke and it was on my right side, which is your emotional side, ironically.
mm,
And also dealing with not feeling whole. So there was a lot of internal battles going on that I had to deal with in that particular day.
um,
Yeah.
I was thinking about it as well, and that's why when I said at the beginning of this chick right here was a little different from the chick I met earlier in 2019. And it just
Yeah.
goes to show it's nothing that I do. It's just the mere fact that you had something in you that was ready to just have something different in life.
I thought about it more. I think it was the great awakening for me after that's how I felt after leaving you that day. I
Okay.
felt like for a lot of things that were sleeping me and that I never really addressed, or those positive things about me that I never talked about much. I was one of those people that it was easy for me to say that you're beautiful and you're going to be successful, and it was easy for me to take the journey to do those things, but I was still kind of hard. I never was grateful. I wasn't grateful for all the accomplishments that I've had in my life. And I think part of the success of freedom that I'm feeling now is learning how to be grateful. No, I don't have, some of the things that I want, but I had to learn how to be grateful for what I did have. Grateful for my life, that I didn't die when I had the stroke. Just that spirit of that 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 attitude of gratitude has helped change my life tremendously. Just appreciating even the little things that I have.
And how much does gratitude cost?
$0.
$0. It's a medicine.
Hmm.
It's a medicine. The words that you use are very descriptive of someone who is doing the work. We started out doing a 6 month coaching relationship. Had access to all of the services. So with that in mind, let me or share with our audience how that relationship melded with your journey. How did that translate for
I
you?
think learning from you the different tools to navigate meditation, um, learning how to be in tune with myself.
So were these things that were new to you prior, or did you learn them as a result of working with Mary You?
I've learned them as a result of working with Mary You.
Okay, let's stop because we don't want the people to think that this was as easy a journey because you look fly and you are talking the truth and you've earned every bit of this fly. But
Uh-huh.
I don't want everybody to think that was as easy as beautiful as you look. And what were some of the challenges in even accepting or utilizing or learning or melding some of the tools that you now use? First example of Reiki. Tell me what that was like for you.
Honestly, um, at first I felt like I was doing something wrong because all of my spiritual teaching in the past, this was not inclusive of that. I was kind of taught, all you have to do is pray, and I still believe in all those different things, but there was something about this moment after the stroke that church, that physical church was not going to do for me. I had to learn. To me, I learned through Reiki that the church was in me, and that oneness. I mean, there was a lot of things in those Reiki sessions were more spiritual to me, and no disrespect to the church, than being in the physical church sometimes. Really learned through Reiki that God and I are one. I've heard that a million times,
Yes.
but I really, on my journey through your coaching, the Reiki and other methods that we use during our coaching sessions, taught me that God was in control of my life, because I was a control freak, and everything had to, because of some challenges or some things that I experienced as a young person. I believe that if I could control things, that I was safe. And I did not realize that my safety was in letting God lead my life, letting Him lead and guide and direct me. And all these things I've heard in the spiritual realm forever in my life,
Mm-hmm.
but they became real to me. Uh, Letting Him be a lamp to my feet and a light to my path, that oneness brought that.
Mm-hmm.
It taught me how to let Him be my guiding light, and take me on the journey to my highest self.
Listen to you.
I mean, it's a high place. It's a place. It's a miracle. I see a miracle in my life.
Oh
It's
my.
it's a place that it's so beautiful. I've never seen, and you know that I'm a big crybaby. I've never seen myself um, in the beauty of wholeness like I see myself now. And it
Mm.
all because I realized that God and I are one. And He's not external. I don't have to look up to the skies to talk to Him. He's that guiding light inside of me that shines, and I think I feel like a a that I was a caterpillar when I came to you. And I'm slowly coming out of that cocoon and bursting into that butterfly that God designed for me to be.
I know I attempted to explain what Reiki was,
Mm-hmm.
this universal light force, this God, but I know I
Mm-hmm.
attempted to explain it to you. But would you agree that until you've been through a session or two, that you can't explain it until you are there?
Absolutely. I tried, even you gave some great explanations about it, and I tried to go and read about it. But in that experience, and it's, I believe it's individual. My experiences probably would be different from someone else. I
Absolutely.
can tell you, you can't read about this. You can't study this. It's a moment in time.
Yes. That I like that. It's a moment in time. And although we know that God is everywhere all the time, you still can't really kind of touch it physically, but it's there. And so it's
Right.
that connection that you are yielded while you're on the table, that each one of those energy centers have something to do with your walk with God. And even with the thing of our traditional um religion and our traditional values and how those are called into question, right? We did intuitive messages. How was that for you? Something different, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
Did you
But
feel like you were going to go to hell at any point?
I did feel like that. But it's like this feels too close to heaven for me to even be thinking about hell right now. And then you think about, well, I've always heard God. That was my thought. I don't need this to hear God. But then you hear God um, through all of the teachings and all of the misconceptions. You hear God through all of the theology. I no longer heard him through theology anymore. I heard him, it was sort of like when you go into a dark room, darkness and light can't dwell there together.
Right.
Light overshadows that room when you open the door. Mm-hmm. And I felt like I opened a door to God and he allowed that light to come in and it just overshadowed those dark things and places in my life.
Who could imagine? But that's what surrender does, though, right?
Yes.
That's what surrender does.
Mm-hmm.
And you had a
Absolutely.
couple of principles and a couple of divine prescriptions that helped throughout this time we spent together. What I call divine prescriptions helpful or principles helpful for you?
They were daily medicines, Um, I took those words, um, digested them, and let them do the work inside me. I mean, it's not a fantasy thing because it's tough when it feels like your whole inside is being turned inside out. My even, you know, you don't feel like who you are, but that's not a good thing because I feel like I went back to who I was supposed to be. There's an original blueprint that God had for my life.
Yeah.
And I think we scribble, life teaches us to scribble over some of those blueprints and to forget about what that original plan looked like for us. Mm-hmm. And I think, um, those daily prescriptions were words they were medicine helping to heal me and to take me back to that original place of blueprint.
I love that. I love that. Because there's nothing magical. There's nothing. It is only spirit. You said, Lord, I want God, please show me you. I need whatever. This. Help me to understand. Little did you know that there were two paths, one of a process and one of the outcome lane. The outcome is pretty much where we used to stay. The who, the what, the when, the where, the why, to be in the control. I know if I do it this way, it'll turn out. But in this journey, you were able to determine when and when you were not in the right lane.
Exactly.
And me, you've learned more about allowing a process to run its course.
I didn't want the process. I just wanted the purpose.
Mm-hmm. Oh, wow.
I wanted to go right to the purpose. I don't want to, I've had enough pain in my life. I don't want an ounce of pain. Mm-hmm. But that process changes, it takes the scale off of your eyes and it gives you a new vision. And it doesn't necessarily, I look at how I handle adversity now versus the way that I handle adversity then, and it's quite different because I know that adversity now is transformation. Mm-hmm. It's pain, is transformation. And where leading and guiding me in this particular pain or this part of my journey. Like I said, it's I became a child. That and I remember when I was growing up, you would, um, when you wanted, when there was pain or there was something going on, you often reached up to your parent with two hands,
Mm-hmm.
wanting them to rescue you.
Yes.
You know, prior to these sessions that we went to, that it was no longer my mother, it was different individuals that I was reaching out to,
Mm.
different relationship that I had no business being in. But as that journey continued, I began to take those two hands and just reach up to God. And, like a child, just, take me, put me in your arms. And when I didn't have the strength to carry myself because the pain was unbearable,
Mm-hmm.
in terms of, because I think looking in the mirror and then seeing yourself, or looking internally and seeing yourself, is not an easy thing. Um, Good, bad, and ugly.
Right. Oh, that's
It
why I
and
said it takes courage and you're a warrior goddess because you taking life by I'm done. Let's
uh-huh.
do this. And like, ooh, didn't know that was gonna come up because that's what happens.
I
Ooh.
mean, I was being very, I've always been a successful person at work. And it was almost like I got to a place where things weren't falling into place like they would normally fall into place in my life.
Mm.
But boy, when they fell into place. And I just kind of walked this journey, just went through the internal pains of surrendering,
Yes.
because that's the hardest thing. That was one of the hardest thing in the world for me to do, was to surrender. I surrendered to what felt good. And Renee, that was one of the things that led me to know that I was in the right place in that first session with you, because I noticed how you relied on God to even interact with me. Um, there was constant reminders of, this is not me. I'm just listening to him. And it's your relationship and that oneness that you had with him that kind of let me know that I was in the right place at the right time.
Wow. Thank you for saying that. Because when a person decides to surrender, you want to be in the
Mm-hmm.
safest place possible.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's part of why people find it a challenge to even try to open up because either they've been burned from opening up to the wrong person at the right time or the right person at the wrong time, or someone who just did not connect. But I think that's really, really important. And thank you for saying that because I think that's what our audience needs to know. Help is available and it may not look like what you think it will look like.
Mm-hmm.
But when God sends you somewhere, it is not your decision on who, what, where, and how he does it.
Exactly.
We stay in the process lane.
Thing I found out from you about you just in a conversation of someone expressing the freedom that they were feeling.
Oh,
And
wow.
they didn't get that from just those traditional services that they were going to. And when I heard her say that, I was saying to myself, it's just no way that you could. I mean, and when every Sunday I would see her, she would look great, she would look happy, and you could tell that it was genuine. It's like, I want that. And when I had that conversation with her, she said, I want you to go and see this person. And that was life changing for me.
Wow.
And I think that's what I'm here today for. My sole purpose is, this is real.
Mm.
It's life changing with work, perseverance, but it works. And I'm a testimony to that.
Well, I am too because I'm telling you, your bright light and your strength. And I just think about even how some of the processes that God brought that not only when you weren't with me, when you were in other places, he provided even strength on the job for you. Everywhere you needed strength because you decided to take a step, he took other steps to ensure that you were upheld. And that's just what it is. You don't have to get, it could be anybody that God uses. But when you are open and you are yielded, be ready. Because I guarantee
It
you, it will not look like what you think.
it doesn't. And even when I used to hear you talk about anything that's not for your higher good, and I listen to Reiki even music sometimes now, where when I feel a lot, that I'm not balanced or whatever on certain days, and I usually listen to Reiki that takes me where I see my higher self. That's a scary. I didn't realize how scary that is, because in my traditional belief, that higher place felt like arrogance, and you're too confident in yourself.
Mm,
It's scary because that higher place gets you to see somebody that you thought you would never see, and feel in a way that you thought that you would never feel. People around you don't recognize it. People at work are wondering what happened to me. My team at that time was, we talked about this in my initial visit, was one of the worst teams that was in the organization.
mhm.
Now my team, because I allowed the work and I surrendered to God, my team is the best team in the organization right now. And I've been managing for 25 years. And this has happened within the last year. I've never seen this type of success at work, and it's all due to surrendering.
Absolutely. And that doesn't mean that it was easy every day.
No, it was hard. It was very, very hard.
I saw God prepare steps before you, always gives you a little bit before to like be mindful of this, or the car, or where we have the intuitive messages or whatever. It was God always prepares the way. How has your intuition been affected?
Oh my goodness. In all your ways, acknowledge him and he'll direct your path.
Yes.
And the first thing that I say every morning when I get up is, create in me a clean heart and renew the right spirit within me. Because there are things that happens within a that can disturb your spirit a little bit.
Mhm, mhm.
My intuition, you know, at I don't even know. I'm walking and driving places sometimes where I don't even know why, or why I'm going this place. I wanted to give you a story because you and I talked about this story before. In the place that I was living, I was on one of the lower floors. I live in a high rise, and I've been looking for a place. And typically, what I would do is just, I'm on my own. Oh, let me go here, let me go there. And I had selected a place on my own, got approved for the place, everything. They were ready to send me the leasing agreement. So my intuition one day told me to go into the rental office, into the building, in the building that I live in. There was a woman in there that has never been in this building, and she was sent to work here for one day. And she asked me a simple question. She was like, oh, you're moving out? And I was just glad to tell her that I was moving out. And she said, why are you moving out? I said, it's interesting. No one noticed. No one even called me. And I've been a faithful renter in this building for the last 2 years. She was shocked and stunned by that. She said, I don't work in this building, but I'm going to move you from your floor 6 floors up. And your rent is not going to be that much different. The rent would normally be this, but this is what you're going to pay. All because of intuition and being and surrendering my directions to God. But I lost money because I went over to the place that I selected for myself.
Mm-hmm.
I had to pay a fee, to get started. But that was okay with me
Mm-hmm.
because I knew that I was in the right place at the right time in God's timing, which his timing is sort of not like ours, his ways are not like ours, but that was an example of how my intuition has changed. Just really being led into places that I never thought that I would be. And I just love it. And even now, I'm getting ready to leave this place. I went,
Wow.
I took the whole day to go and find an apartment. And God led me to this one place that was just hidden. And I've always wanted to live in a loft instead of one bed. I mean, it's a beautiful place. It's the perfect design that I've always wanted in my life. And for 2 bedrooms, less than what I'm paying here. It's just so amazing. And when I went to this place where I'll be living, the lady said those apartments never, those lofts, they never become available. And I was like, but she doesn't know who I know
And or who I am.
or who I am. Yes.
Absolutely. Because if we are one, then
Mm-hmm.
let us be clear that you are
Yep.
a manifester.
That's the word I was looking for. And that's one of the things that I've really tuned into in my life now, being able to manifest things in my life where I didn't think that I was worthy. It's a matter, it's amazing how you can have some of the nicer things in life and still not feel that self-worth
Yes.
because of your previous journey, my journey that I'd gone on.
Mm-hmm.
And there are times now where I feel things in my heart's desires, and I don't even really express them out loud, but then I'll see the manifestation of them.
Mm.
And lets that helps me understand even more that oneness, because when I'm one with him, he's inside of me. He knows those feelings and thoughts, and we, they're manifested. I've just never experienced this level of happiness. Um, uh, and that's what I mean when I say I'll give nothing for this journey that I'm on. I remember where I was almost 2 years ago now and where I am now. And it's not about material things. To me, it's more about there's a freedom on the inside of me that I don't even know. Some things I don't even know how to express or say, using my voice where I didn't feel like I've had one. That was the one big thing that we talked about on our first visit, going back to that question. I didn't feel like I had a voice, and I never stood up for myself. Now that God and I are one, you know, I stand up for myself in ways. And then when I did stand up for myself in the past, it was always some angry standing up for myself.
Mm-hmm.
Now I stand up in peace, knowing who I am, who I'm one with, and how I can manifest things.
And so, do you see that how you have changed your own perspective and start walking in a different way, how people respond to you?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Um, Even thinking about work, um, the responses that how people respond to me there, and more importantly, how I respond to myself. You know, there were times where when I got up in the morning and I felt like something was off, and I would spend that entire day trying to determine why am I off balance this day, opposed to letting that light to guide me or letting God guide me, and realizing that it was just a moment in time. Um, you know, it was my intuition kind of preparing me for something that was going to happen in that day. But yes, my team responds to me different because I'm a different leader now.
Mm-hmm.
I respond to myself differently now because I've shed some of those. I look at it as detox.
Yeah.
I've gone through a detoxing, and anybody that has ever, seen someone go through a detox, that first day or two, for me, that first 3 months or so were very hard because a lot of thoughts that I had about myself and the way things work had to be changed. So when you change, the world change around you, and people see me differently, not because I'm saying that I'm different, but because I really am different.
Yep.
So my leaders at work respond to me differently. Folks that I congregate with, um, they see me different. They don't even know what it is, and sometimes I can't even tell them what it is, to be honest. I just know that there's a peace that surpasses any type of understanding is in me right now.
And that is something that you can't pay for.
Yeah.
How do you feel about the things that seem to have to fall to the wayside, whether it was a belief system, whether a tradition, a relationship, opportunity? How do you feel like as you went through your process and these things fall away, how did that make you feel?
In the beginning, it made me feel like I was out of the will of God, to be quite honest with you.
Mhm.
But as my journey continued, I realized more and more that I was in the will of God. you know, a lot of the, teaching and all the things that I've learned over the years, those things were important for those seasons of my life.
Mhm.
But when you go through that, uh, moving from a caterpillar to a butterfly,
Yes.
you cannot want to change and have those same thought process. When you move to your higher thought process and your higher being, I don't know. It was hard transitioning because we want to hold on to our belief systems.
Absolutely. It's familiar.
It's a familiar thing, but
Mhm.
I knew that it was time to break up from those familiar things.
That's why you're a warrior goddess. That's why I'm grateful that you can share this with people, because a lot of people don't want to start any type of anything because they fear what it's going to make me do, or what it's going to happen to me. What am I going to have to do? And I can understand that. And like, when I've resisted doing something all these years, obviously if I'm gonna change, I'm gonna have to do something totally different, which I must not have been ready for because I haven't done it. So
Exactly.
you, for me, have just been an example of what surrender will do. There's nothing I could have told you. I may have walked along the journey and spirit leads and guides into all truths, but you were the one who did the work. You laid aside, or are laying, because I don't ever think it's over until we're over. But you chose to lay aside the weights and those things that either set us to the left or the right. You decide to allow spirit to lead you through that process, so that now you have emerged as such a being of freedom and of light that it is automatically transformational.
No. But you'll be amazed too that some of your relationships will change when you start to stand up for yourself.
Mhm.
Because you're not supposed to be the most important person in people's eyes. They've made you somehow, and for me, I somehow made people more important than myself. But
Mm.
when I started standing up for me and making myself important,
Mhm.
it started changing some of those relationships. And um, you know, I said that I like control, but I didn't realize how much I let other people control me too with their emotions.
Mm.
I didn't realize until going through this journey that I wanted people to love and to accept me. But I felt like I had to do things for that love and acceptance.
Mm.
And now I just feel like I just have to be me. And I've lost some relationships on this journey because people say, well, you've changed. You don't act like the traditions of what we've been taught. And I have, because I feel like that's not my high place. That's not where I get to see the divine things of God.
Mm. Oh, wow. The divine things of God, where my spirit resonates. And that doesn't mean perfection.
Yep, it definitely doesn't.
Thank God it doesn't, because God is unconditional love. Whatever we decide to do, He will just love us regardless, never make us feel condemned about the choices that we make. He helps us to understand that there's a consequence for the
Mm-hmm.
choices that we make. But then we learn from that too. We need the up, the down, the in, the out, the left, the right. Intuitive part comes in. You learn this and you learn how to trust yourself.
Being safe, because I've had some tragic things that happened in my life. I've always done what was safe. you
Mm.
know um I know that I'm supposed to be a business owner. I know that I'm supposed to be a writer. There were a lot of things that I knew about myself that I did not have the courage to do at that time. um I'm looking forward to what type of person I'm going to be this time next year, because as I begin to really walk in gratitude and surrender, um, those doors keep opening up, and I'm just going to keep walking in them.
And that's his desire for us, that whatsoever we desire, that
Mhm.
he will give us the desires of our heart as long as we continue to stay in contact and be led and guided. Why not? The sky is the limit. So our relationship, as far as the coaching part, and that 6 months stopped, and you chose to become part of the Mirror You Wellness, which is a maintenance part of the program. How has that been effective or ineffective for you?
It's been effective to me because I'm in tune with myself now. I know when I need to stop and recharge myself.
Mm.
I know um, when I need to get back to a higher me.
Yes.
And the funny thing is because we are connected, you usually know that also, because you'll reach out to me and you'll say, "How are you doing?" And that reminds me that I have this this additional wellness package that I can tap into, and it's usually at a time where there's some type of struggle.
Mm.
So I think that's important. Also, that you're not just providing a service; you actually have a connection with me,
Mhm.
and I think you feel when something is going on with me, because you're allowing God to lead you. And I can tap into those services when I'm feeling, when I need a little bit of something. I don't even know what that something is, but I
Oh.
know that, I have this wellness benefit that I can tap into
Mhm.
uh, when needed.
You are strengthening your intuition by following the steps or the promptings. I do the same thing happens for me. So I'll be doing something and you'll pop up like, call Sheryl. And I might say, like, okay. And you know how you get busy and you're like, or whomever it is, because that is the importance of why God brings people together for a specific reason. Yeah. So it's not me because I'm not that smart. I'm just trying to be more obedient and like you on my journey, be obedient and know when spirit is saying to do something because it does not look like it makes sense sometimes. And it's training us to not be depending on outside of ourselves because he resides inside and to be able to listen to him. to you, because you continue to grow, and I know that spirit just is so proud. And I know that the people who are listening today have gleaned an enormous amount of information and insight. And some may even find the courage to step out or step into their own journey, looking for support, knowing that they can do it. And it may start at one way, but at the end, you'll turn into this beautiful flower that continues to open up more than you could ever think or ask. Tell me the pros and cons of working with Mirror You Wellness.
If I had to be honest, I really don't have, well, I would say when I thought about this morning, if I were going to be asked this question, I would love to see you expand. And what I mean by that, folks that have taken that journey with you,
Mhm.
maybe once a month or something, that there's a group session with those individuals if people feel comfortable. I think that will I think that would be just even a little bit more encouraging
Yeah,
to hear people's journey. I think that should be an added value. That would be the only question that I have, that you would
that's
expand on
real
what you're doing.
important. Um, because people need to be able to say some things and know that they're not by
Even
themselves.
yeah, even now more than ever, people need that support, you know.
But thank you for that. Any words of encouragement that you would be able to leave anyone who hears this conversation?
I would just I would want to leave with saying surrender sounds like a very hard word, but it can really change your life. I'm a big Maya Angelou fan, and one of her books talks about I know why the cage birds sing. And I know that Renee would talk to me about singing all the time. And there, I found myself dancing in the. I remember our first session. You said I could see you kind of like dancing. I'm in the kitchen sometimes now, and I'm dancing all over the place because of joy. Choose you. I would leave this session with saying, choose you and choose you every single day, whatever that means for you. Surrender to God. Let Him be your lamp under your feet and your light to the path. And that path will take you to some places. Uh, there'll be some dark places that you will go to, but His everlasting light is there, even in those dark places, shining and giving you the rejuvenation that you need to get through even those dark places. So that's the word I'll leave the group with today, is just choose you and choose you daily.
I know her. I know this lady. I know her. I'm so proud, and I agree 100% with those words. Choose you. May feel like some people are gonna make you feel like they're selfish,
Mm-hmm.
but until
Yep.
I put on and take care of myself, I am no good to anybody else. And when I choose myself, I have boundaries, I have strength, and I have God on my side. Thank you, Sheryl,
Thank
for sharing those words of encouragement. And I just keep you in my prayers. We will always talk, but I keep you in my prayers because I know that you're an inspiration to so many people.
thank you so much.